Punishment is its own reward.
Previously, in these Reddit streets, I heard the episode where Grim becomes human. He was originally supposed to be black, but that was changed because the whole show was about two white kids owning the Grim Reaper. That would have made it even funnier. It makes sense. He says Mama San Mama Sa Mama Kusa when casting a spell. They should have made him Hispanic. Cowards. Sorry, I'ma just go ahead and do that. Gosh, people will be arguing about a fictional cartoon character who's not even a human to begin with. It's not a human character. He's turned into a human for a couple episodes, hence any race would make sense. It's like turning a dog into a human, then arguing what is the race of the dog.
Yeah, and to be honest, Jamaica is multi-ethnic and has always been. And they all sound like that. I bet y'all didn't know Sean Paul was Chinese, but it's true. And that voice he uses isn't a pose either, so there.
I've covered the most out-of-pocket stuff when it comes to Billy and Mandy a couple times already, mostly focusing on the most flagrant innuendo jokes, if you would call them that. Those two videos are a bit of a compilation that I kind of analyzed, including moments like Grimm's fantasy MILF roleplay in the bathtub, the largest rack in children's cartoon history, not even close, whatever the f this is, and whatever the f this is part 2. Not to mention classics such as Billy's sexual escapades. Billy! What is Billy doing in the bathroom? And my personal favorite, masturbation gate.
Grim, have you been playing with your sickle again?
It's been a great series, and so far I've covered everything you can't unsee in Billy and Mandy. May God have mercy on our souls.
I saw things I shouldn't have.
But since death does come in threes, it's only right that I center this third and final installment of the series around Grim, aka Fido, aka TV Repairman Man, aka Mr. Pull Up Right Now and Embarrass Ya, aka Grimmy.
My name is Grimmy, and I've come to reap your immortal soul.
If little buddy came for me, my last words would be, aww. There's a lot of opinions floating around out there about what Grim's ethnicity would be if he were human, and I do think the subject is more debatable than people realize. You might just take for granted that Grim is black, but random Reddit user certainly does not. I don't think that's true. Grim is a white skeleton. He wears black.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
But before we get to reaping,
Get out there and reap.
I gotta come clean. The breast physics in this show are amazing. Shout out to all the hardworking animators on this show that pay attention to detail for the children. And also, I can't let the unprecedented amount of gore that the show got away with go unaddressed as well. Only then can we get to the very controversial topic that is Grimm's black story. I meant backstory. Shit, let's go.
I don't want to be the Grim Reaper. I just want to sing. And I...
Get out there and reap.
Peaking during the golden age of Cartoon Network, which is the early to late 2000s, Billy and Mandy is in a freaky class of its own, and I'll break down exactly why. The official rating for Billy and Mandy is TVY7FV, which, according to the official TV parental guidelines, the show is directed at children 7 years or above. Quote, for those programs where fantasy violence may be more intense or more combative than other programs in this category, such programs will be designated TVY7FV for fantasy violence. Most shows with this rating on Cartoon Network are strictly action shows. Think Ben 10, OKKO, Mau Mau. The only non-action shows that qualify in the fantasy violence category are Chowder, Flapjack, and Gumball, which is surprising to me because not only is there infinitely more innuendo in Billy and Mandy, none of these shows hold a candle to the grotesque disfigurement of the human body that Billy's character alone goes through on a regular basis. Feel me? Billy puts the dummy in Crash Dummy. He's a vulture might change my mind. Don't believe me? Come a little closer. I gotta tell you something. A little closer. A little closer. Closer.
It's hot in here. Ooh, that's better. My insides get really warm sometimes. You want lemonade, please?
Cartoons of the day could never, and should never, but mostly could never. I think that's the bigger point.
Why didn't anyone ever tell me my butt was so big?
certain episodes of Billy and Mandy are liable to include a kind of body horror that would absolutely turn your stomach if it weren't for the absence of blood, cause, you know, it's body horror, but for kids. Which brings us to the meat of it, or rather the bone of it. Get it? Cause Grimm's a fucking skeleton. That struggles socially. Not for nothing, I know Grimm has been covered by a few people addressing the fact that he is a black character, allegedly, that was whitewashed in that one episode. But I think people missed a few things that add insult to injury and kind of begs the question as to how Billy and Mandy got this off.
What? What?
There had never been a TV Y7 show before or after Billy and Mandy that exercised this particular combination of morbidity and awkward race politics while still being hilarious. It would have never been greenlit today, but say it was picked up for some reason just for a season, it would have been canceled off this one clip alone.
There's only room for one chore monkey in this house, and that's me.
Needless to say, a chore monkey is an interesting choice of words to describe a Jamaican man who is a slave to a couple of white kids. But then again, these are Grimm's words, not mine or theirs. Either way, how this episode made it on air is beyond me.
Nobody messes with my favorite show.
Oh, trust me, I mess with your show. I'm just trying to figure out what the f your writers were thinking.
Let's do that again.
Death always wins in the end.
Greg Eagles does the voice of Grimm.
Dying is easy. Comedy is hard.
And I went in and auditioned for the part of Grimm. They said they wanted someone to do the Grim Reaper. So I just came up with this deep voice.
He was not at all what I was looking for when we were doing it. Grimm was originally going to be sort of a British Dr. Smith sort of whiny guy.
And they said, well, can you do a little something else with it? So I put a little Jamaican thing on it, you know.
One of the takes Greg did was just the full-on grim Jamaican like he is today, and
they liked it. And that's how Grimm was born.
So the fact Grimm was supposed to have a British accent does clear up a few things for sure. And shout out to Greg Eagles for hopping into his writer's bag and pulling out that Jamaican accent. I think it was a good improvement on the character.
You don't know who you're messing with, man. I'm the Grim.
It's just that in the show, Grimm's mom has what I believe is an Israeli accent. Could be wrong. Whatever. Leave a comment. I'm going to let y'all hear it and tell me what this accent is. I believe it is Israeli. Whatever it is, it's definitely white. While his dad has a more American accent, it could be within the same vein.
It is time for you to embrace your destiny, little Grimmy. From this moment forward, you will be the Grim Reaper.
Now, could you step out of the way of my speakers? You're blocking the sound. A little bit more. A little more.
Now, with that information alone, there's no actual reason to believe Grimm is black. However, literally everything else about Grimm's experience suggests that he is in fact black. Exhibit 1, meet Granny Grimm.
Ooh, spicy. This sauce is gonna knock 'em dead, Granny Grimm.
We're going to need more spice to do that.
That was just an expression, Granny. We don't really want to knock 'em dead. It's your recipe.
This hair texture speaks volumes and is actually the single phenotypical attribute that is 100% indicative of some type of black heritage out of all his family appearances, which they only show up like 4 or 5 times. Typical of a black individual. Nah, I'm just kidding. But a lot of people who covered this topic really didn't go in depth as far as this, and I felt it very important to point out his genealogy, which is, you know, slightly inconsistent, non-linear, and mostly just, well, like cartoon basis. It's dream logic. But I'm gonna go ahead and take this with a fat grain of salt. Let's move on. In any case, this is not a white woman's hair, which leads me to believe the only logical conclusion, don't Google this, that the black gene has literally skipped a generation and hits Grimm like a ton of bricks, or a giant book bag. A circumstance that is compounded by the fact that he coincidentally is enslaved by 2 Caucasian owners. All right, there's no other way to put it.
I got the magic sight and everything. and I go on adventures with it. And that's Billy and Mandy. I hate them.
And who can blame you? But the fact of the matter is, canonically speaking, Grimm has fooled himself into the situation where he is now bound by contract to serve the spawn of Satan and mostly harmless, but occasionally violent S-tier nincompoop.
Whoa! Santa's trying to kill that little kid!
No! He's been a very naughty boy! Just one season's beating! Just one!
Now, before we get into the thorough abuse of Grimm during his tenure as an absolute slave under Billy's household, I'd like to highlight some of the good... I'd like to highlight some of the...
Grim.
I'd like to highlight some of the good times he's had. Here's a montage.
You have 12 hours until your head explodes.
Oh, man! And it's my birthday!
You see, the reason we don't have to feel entirely bad for Grimm is because he himself is a maniacal asshat. That's just a part of his character. He just happens to be a slave who happens to be black and bound by contract via his own stupidity.
What do you mean?
Well, let me explain. If you end your friendship prematurely, you're removed from the Earth realm and sent back to the underworld. And because you violated your contract, you'll also be forced to spend eternity in underworld jail.
No, anything but underworld jail.
So, I guess the term slave in this context is slightly hyperbolic. Grimm is more of an indentured servant. That sounds flashy. A servant who doesn't do the dishes as much as the dishes do him, and who shares in the common black experience most readily when at the mercy of the American justice system.
Excuse me. Tell me again why I'm up in this cage.
Silence!
You're the bloke from the surveillance camera. Security!
Ow! Get off me!
Of course. Grimm inhabits a world in which his face is a bit of a hawk to a magnet, if you will. A world that treats him like a second-class citizen, making his experience more akin to that of a dog's.
You're a filthy animal, and Mom says filthy animals sleep outside in a filthy doghouse.
Oh, Billy, why you gotta be like that?
The way I see it, Grimm gets the worst of both worlds. He's got a relentless emotional abuser in Mandy, and when that gets old, which plot twist it never does, Billy is always more than willing to put the beats on him like it's a sport.
It was wrong of them to boss you around.
Not to mention punch me, kick me, and set me on fire.
It's crucial that you listen to me, okay?
You see, for Grimm, explosive monkey diarrhea takes on a whole new meaning. Yet through it all, he still, for some reason, fights to remain the chore monkey he is. Sorry, his words, not mine.
There's only room for one chore monkey in this house, and that's me. Dickie, come out and play.
And while there are mad racial undertones to be addressed in this episode in particular, y'all don't have to think too hard as to why this would never fly in modern cartoons, so here's a sick one-liner instead.
You're not so lively with a bottle of cleaning solution in your face, eh, Reaper? You're finished.
Well, if it isn't the Grim Reaper and his little master.
To be honest, I didn't feel the need to turn this into a discussion about race politics within a fictional show where a fantasy character just happens to be black-coded, because at this point, the irony isn't lost on any of us. Frankly, the jokes just wouldn't land if we were constantly wondering if the writers were being racist. Regardless, it's still baffling that a show like this, which was made for second graders, even existed, especially given the current climate, which seems to critique shows more for their political correctness than actual entertainment value, as if one is substitutable for the other. I don't know about you, but I'd rather have shows that are slightly offensive and funny than bland and PC. The fact that Grimm is a literal commodity, the fact that he is a slave is only edgy because Grimm is black-coded. If he was white, well, a whole nother story apparently. But it wouldn't be as funny, because if they went with that British accent, it wouldn't hit the same.
Master! 1,000 pardons, master!
But just imagine that being the entire show. Maybe Billy Mandy is legendary for all the wrong reasons. But if this is wrong, I don't want to be fucking right. But does that make me a twisted individual? I don't know. This channel is a judgment-free zone. Except for in the comments. What moments in Billy Mandy did they go overboard for you? I'm thinking the show might have got preferential treatment for being allowed to do all of this stuff in the same show. Did they make the right decision by whitewashing Grimm in that one episode? Does gore have a solid place in TV made for young children? And if you made it this far, you might as well go all the way, subscribe, and bludgeon the like button as well. Good job, Billy. Please like the video. If you enjoyed yourself, you'll see me very soon. I got a few others in the tuck, so keep your eyes peeled. Like Billy. For now, this has been Adrenaline Flux, and until next time, mama say, mama sa, mama kusa.
Mama say, mama saw, mama kusa. Mama say, mama saw, mama kusa.